Margaret Chen sat in Dr. Patel's office, her fingers gripping the armrest as she studied the X-rays illuminated on the screen. At 63, she'd expected some wear and tear, but the images told a story she After 60, we lose muscle mass at an accelerating rate about 3 to 8% per decade. But here's what most people don't realize. This loss is largely preventable. Margaret thought of her mother, who'd spent her final years unable to rise from a chair without assistance. She'd always assumed it was inevitable aging, not muscle atrophy, that could have been prevented. Your muscles are like your body's metabolic furnace, Dr. Patel continued. They burn calories even at rest, support your joints, and quite literally hold you upright against gravity. When we ignore resistance training, we're essentially accepting a future where opening a jar becomes impossible, where carrying groceries feels like running a marathon. She described a patient named Robert, 72, who'd come to her 5 years ago barely able to climb his front porch steps. He'd started with light dumbbells, just 5 pounds, doing simple bicep curls and overhead presses while sitting down. Within 6 months, he was lifting his grandchildren. Within a year, he'd joined a community garden, hauling soil and tending raised beds. Balance is a skill we can practice and improve at any age. She explained how the vestibular system, the inner ear's balance mechanism, deteriorates without use, like any other system. If you only walk on flat, even surfaces, your body loses its ability to react to unexpected shifts. But if you practice standing on one leg while brushing your teeth, or walk heel-to-toe down your hallway, you're training your nervous system to keep you upright. Margaret learned about proprioception, the body's awareness of where it is in space. This sixth sense dulls with age, but exercises like Tai Chi, yoga, or even simple one-legged stands while holding a counter could restore it. Think of it as insurance, Dr. Patel said. 10 minutes of balance exercises 3 times a week might be the difference between a fall being a minor scare and a life-altering injury. Now, flexibility and mobility, the doctor said, standing to demonstrate. Can you reach behind your back like this? She clasped her hands behind her back, one arm reaching over her shoulder, the other up from her waist. Margaret tried. Her hands were at least 8 inches apart. This isn't about touching your toes to impress anyone, Dr. Patel assured her. It's about functional movement. Can you look over your shoulder to check your blind spot while driving? Can you reach the top shelf without strain? Can you get up from the floor if you need to play with grandchildren? She spoke of fascia, the connective tissue that wraps around muscles like shrink wrap. Without stretching, this tissue becomes rigid, limiting range of motion and causing pain. The irony is, the less we move, the less we can move. It becomes a vicious cycle. Dr. Patel recommended gentle yoga, even or 5 simple minutes daily stretching routines. Shoulder circles, spinal twists, hip openers can preserve decades of mobility. Margaret thought of her father, who'd loved golf but had to quit at 68 because he could no longer rotate his torso enough for a proper swing. Had he known then what she was learning now, your heart is a muscle too, Dr. Patel said, returning to her seat. and like any muscle, it needs exercise to stay strong. She explained that cardiovascular disease remained the leading cause of death for people over 60, but that consistent aerobic exercise could reduce that risk by up to 50%. We're not talking about running marathons. We're talking about activities that elevate your heart rate moderately for sustained periods. Walking, swimming, cycling, dancing, anything that made you slightly breathless but still able to hold a conversation. The goal is consistency, not intensity, she emphasized. 30 minutes a day, most days of the week. It improves circulation, strengthens your heart, maintains healthy blood pressure, and reduces inflammation throughout your body. But there was more. Dr. Patel mentioned cognitive benefit studies showing that cardiovascular exercise increased blood flow to the brain, potentially delaying or preventing dementia. It improved mood by releasing endorphins. It helped regulate blood sugar, preventing type 2 diabetes. One of my patients, Diane, started water aerobics at 67 after being diagnosed with high blood pressure and prediabetes, the doctor shared. Within 6 months, her numbers had improved so much she was able to reduce her medications. She's 73 now, leads the class, and just returned from hiking in the Rockies. The last category might be the most important, Dr. Patel said. Functional movement patterns, exercises that mimic everyday activities. She listed them: squatting, hanging, pushing, pulling, rotating, and carrying. Every time you sit down and stand up, you're squatting. Bending to pick something up is hanging. Opening a door is pushing or pulling. Looking over your shoulder is rotating. Carrying groceries is, well, carrying. The doctor explained that many exercise programs focus on isolated movements, but life demands integrated, whole-body actions. If you can't squat properly, getting on and off the toilet becomes difficult. If you can't hinge safely, picking up a drop pin risks your back. She recommended exercises like sit-to stands from a chair, practicing picking objects up from the floor with proper form, and farmer's carry, simply walking while holding weights at your sides. These aren't glamorous, but they're the difference between independence and dependence in your 70s and 80s. Margaret sat quietly, absorbing everything. I wish I'd known all this 20 years ago, she finally said. You're not alone in that feeling, Dr. Patel replied. I hear it constantly. But here's what I want you to understand. It's not too late. While we can't undo the past, every study shows that starting these exercises at 60, 70, or even 80 yields significant benefits. She pulled up research on her computer. This study followed people who started resistance training in their 70s. Within 12 weeks, they'd increased their muscle mass and strength by 25%. This one showed that balance training reduced fall risk by 37% in just 8 weeks. The regret you feel isn't about the past, Dr. Patel said gently. It's about not wanting to feel this way 5 years from now, looking back at today. Margaret left the office with a referral to a physical therapist who specialized in older adults, a list of exercises to start at home, and something she hadn't felt in months: hope. That evening, she called her daughter, Jennifer, who was 58. I need to tell you something important, Margaret began, and she shared everything she'd learned. 3 days later, Margaret attended her first session with the physical therapist. They started simply seated exercises, light resistance bands, standing balance work while holding a rail. It felt almost too easy, and Margaret said so. That's exactly the point, her therapist, Marcus, replied. We're building a foundation you'll maintain for life. This isn't about intensity right now. It's about consistency and proper form. Margaret stood in her kitchen, her granddaughter Emma balanced on her hip. At 3 years old, Emma was getting heavy, but Margaret held her easily, her strengthened muscles handling the weight without strain. Higher, Grandma. Emma squealed as Margaret lifted her toward the ceiling. 6 months ago, this would have been impossible. Now, after consistent resistance training twice a week, daily balance exercises, regular walks around her neighborhood, stretching each morning, and focusing on functional movements, Margaret felt stronger than she had in years. The chronic back pain had diminished significantly. She could garden without needing to rest every 15 minutes. She'd started taking dance classes with a friend, something she'd always wanted to do but had convinced herself was no longer possible. Jennifer had joined her for many workouts, determined not to experience her mother's regret. They'd become each other's accountability partners and cheerleaders. Dr. Patel had been right about something else too. As Margaret grew stronger, she noticed changes beyond the physical. Her confidence had increased. Her mood had lifted. She felt more engaged with life, more willing to try new things. She thought about the cultural narrative around aging, that decline was inevitable, that slowing down was natural, that pain and limitation were simply the price of years lived. She'd believed that narrative, and it had cost her. But she'd also learned it wasn't too late to write a different story. One evening, while doing her balance exercises, now able to stand on one leg for a full minute with her eyes closed, Margaret thought about Robert with his garden, Diane hiking in the mountains, and all the unnamed others who discovered what she now knew: the body, given the right stimulus and care, remained remarkably adaptive and resilient. The exercises she'd regret ignoring. She was no longer ignoring them. And 5 years from now, she wouldn't look back with regret at 63. She'd look back with gratitude at the day she decided it wasn't too late to become stronger. Margaret turned 68 this spring. She recently helped Jennifer move furniture into a new apartment, something that would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. She hikes with a local group of seniors every Saturday. Her bone density, measured last month, had stabilized and even improved slightly. But perhaps the most meaningful change wasn't in her body at all.
It was in her granddaughter Emma, now 8, who'd started asking Margaret to teach her exercises. "I want to be strong like you, Grandma," she'd said. And Margaret realized that the real regret wouldn't have been just about her own missed opportunities. It would have been about not being present, capable, and active for the people she loved. Not being able to hold Emma, to hike with Jennifer, to live fully instead of merely existing. The 5 exercises: resistance, balance, flexibility, cardiovascular, and functional movement weren't just about avoiding regret. They were about choosing life over limitation, possibility over resignation, and strength over surrender. At any age, but especially after 60, that choice remained available. Margaret was grateful she'd finally made it.